We all remember the American businessman and founder of Tesla and SpaceX saying how much he admires Ukraine and how far he's willing to go to free them from the shackles of this terrible Russian invasion. Musk has long supported Western ideals, particularly the right to free speech, so this isn't really shocking news. He is the hero no one expected, and yet it seems like he's the only non-political figure fighting this battle so publicly. Elon Musk is aggressively working to advance the idea of unrestricted free speech. By free speech, I simply mean that which matches the law, he wrote in a series of tweets. I am against censorship that goes far beyond the law. If people want less free speech, they will ask the government to pass laws to that effect. Press freedom is seen as one of the democracy's fundamental principles and a tool that raises standards of life and stimulates the economy. However, few people are aware of what press freedom is or why it has such a good reputation. By the way, one of the most significant tools in politics is the media, whose impact is so vast that journalism is sometimes referred to as the fourth power. Press freedom is the ability of newspapers, publications, and so on to report news independently of the government, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The Macmillan dictionary has the exact same definition. It underlines that the term freedom of the press refers to the distribution and publication of information without limitations imposed by governments through newspapers, magazines, and other media formats such as social or electronic media. However, the press must still follow the law in terms of libel, obscenity, and copyright. The phrase freedom of the press is also used in Encyclopedia Britannica. Press freedom and media freedom are two more phrases that fundamentally mean the same thing. Another popular dictionary adds that a person's personal right and a citizen's political rights are both included in the concept of press freedom. Thus, we can reach the conclusion that press freedom refers to the media's ability to report on events free from state interference and to freely form media outlets. At the same time, it is crucial to understand that each nation's level of press freedom varies greatly. Therefore, despite the fact that it exists in many countries, including contemporary Russia, the Social Democrats do not support minimum or even abstract press freedom. Progressive Social Democrats frequently call for greater journalistic freedom. However, the issue is that it is quite low in these circumstances. It is quite likely that there is very little press freedom in a nation where the majority of media outlets are controlled by a single entity. The high level of corruption in the nation is one of the key markers of its poor level of free expression. This is why Elon Musk faces a principled opponent in Russia, a nation with a high level of corruption. The functioning of governmental authorities, law enforcement organizations, the health and education systems, as well as other spheres and areas of life, is negatively impacted by corruption in contemporary Russia. Corruption has also long been a feature of the Russian public administration system. There are many nations in the world with high levels of corruption, but Russia truly takes the cake here. And we're not just making baseless claims. Many surveys and studies have shown just how bad the situation is over there. You won't believe what a recent study revealed. Russia is one of the top 50 most corrupt nations in the world according to Transparency International's annual Corruption Perception Index. Modern Russian law defines corruption as the giving or receiving of bribes, the abuse of authority, the commercialization of bribery, or any other illegal use of an official position by an individual in defiance of the legitimate interests of the state and society in order to obtain benefits in the form of cash, valuables, other property, or proprietary services. Corruption affects every aspect of life in Russia, as it does in many other nations, regardless of status and wealth. The population's low wages and the instability of political institutions are significant contributors to Russia's high level of corruption. Due to these causes, the Russian people, unable to rely on the nation's truly functional economic, social, and political institutions, are compelled to rely on informal institutions and engage in informal economic activities, which results in widespread corruption and a large shadow economy. But it should be noted that corruption can still be found in industrialized nations even if political institutions are strong and the average income of the population is high. However, because the majority of people in these nations can rely on effective state institutions, it typically only affects a small segment of the population at the top of the economic, social, and political hierarchy of society. Numerous personality traits of corrupt Russian officials are listed by the chair of the criminology department at Immanuel Kant Baltic University. Most of them are family men, responsible employees with advanced degrees, and established psyches. They also have high levels of material prosperity and patriotism. He draws attention to the fact that crime involving corruption cause mutual animosity to develop between the rich and the poor. He uses State Duma lawmakers as an illustration. Since even the least intelligent deputy is smarter than the ordinary citizen, Russians believe that poverty is typically a personal decision made by everyone. So what results from this notion? Well, most citizens continue to accept and even become part of the corrupt system. They think that succeeding in society is basically like a survival game, and it's okay to push the less privileged to the back ends. A corrupt government can efficiently manage construction projects and collect taxes, regulate population, monitor borders, and stifle political activity. It also has no interest in advancing the well-being of society or the economy because it is a threat to both. Increased incomes will reduce people's reliance on a dishonest hierarchy. Political leaders would have strong incentives to combat corrupt practices if their prevalence signaled the end of political power. However, if bribery plays a significant role in the unofficial structures of political dominance and public administration, the government will have every motive to keep these structures in place. So, how does the hierarchy's corruption come into play? There are two ways that corruption might take the role of established legal systems. The first instance of a bribe is when it becomes a second salary. In exchange for the efficient implementation of the center's orders and the deduction of a portion of these earnings, the official receives the proceeds of bribery under the terms of such an agreement. Although such a deal weakens the rule of law, it has no impact on the administrative structure or the state's ability to carry out the directives of the Constitution. The second mechanism is actually even more significant. Bribery gives leaders new ways to put pressure on their formal subordinates in an unofficial capacity. The widespread use of bribery as a form of unofficial payment may actually increase the center's authority. High levels of free expression cannot be supported by such a rotten system. There should be publications that actually practice true journalism in a nation where the authorities are continuously attempting to outlaw many things, including speaking the truth. But in a country like Russia, where nepotism and bribery are rampant and corruption permeates every institution, many journalists are willing to compromise their ethical principles in exchange for state money and personal loyalty. Russian propaganda is ultimately so successful because those who have ideas that are unfavorable to the Russian government will not be encouraged. In November of 2021, research on a similar matter was conducted in Russia. According to its findings, Russians most widely mentioned violations of their rights to free speech. In the past 5 years, 16% of respondents stated they had run into something similar. 10% felt that their right to information was violated. As a result, we can conclude that a considerable portion of the population in Russia feels unable to speak candidly and address particular subjects. Elon Musk wants to change this situation. And that wraps up our video for today. Do you think Russia's corruption problem will ever be resolved? And will Elon Musk be the ultimate savior of the nation? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.